it's almost like a bad book that you open up the pages and you know exactly who's going to be commenting on the next page. Yes, it's that week. It's the Glasgow Derby week, and Charlie Nicholas once again crawls back out from underneath the woodwork to make a crazy prediction that, a madcap idea that Celtic have weaknesses and Rangers could actually make a semi-final statement if they go ahead and beat Celtic. But he does expect Celtic to go 12 points clear this weekend. From the Western Australia, clarity, solid foundations are key to Ange Postecoglou's Celtic, says Jota. And Jota also insists that Celtic have not been overthinking the title run-in. Ange Postecoglou has set a target, and it'll be a world record, and it'll probably even be more if we keep on going the way we're going and we don't drop any points. It'll be a better goal tally and a better points finished than Brendan Rodgers' Celtic. That's something to be said of. And then I've seen a story this morning about Paul Lambert. Paul Lambert opened up his about why he moved to Celtic and where exactly did Wim Jansen and Murdo McLeod pop up to say, look, give us one more chance, let us talk to you. It's quite a story, in fact. I love Paul Lambert, he's an amazing guy. Back to the Charlie Nicholas story. Charlie Nicholas, the madman Charlie Nicholas, pinpoints the weaknesses Michael Beale needs to try and exploit against Celtic. Oh, Jesus, Charlie, here we go. Right, I'm going to go through this anyway. Stick with it. Ange Postecoglou may be planning a perfect end to the season with a record Premiership points, but Charlie Nicholas reckons that invincible. There are areas where Rangers can get success if they go for it. Well, it's not in the women's football, it's not in the beef team football, and it's definitely not in the Premier League. However, he wrote in his Express column that he says he expects Celtic to finally snuff out any hopes of Rangers' lingering hopes of the title. Come on, Charlie, we're not going to drop 9 points. It's unbelievable. I'm fumbling my words even as I speak about it. Anyway, he says it's more likely that they can cause a Scottish Cup semi-upset rather than a league game this weekend. And that's their best chance of silverware, is to retain the cup. So he fully expects Celtic to win and increase their gap to 12 points. But if Rangers want to make a real statement of intent, they have to attack Celtic at the game of their hosts. I think they will come out and try and attack the first 10-15 minutes. I think if we get a goal early, it'll be it's just what we do. And if you remember the last game of the game before, where we did score early and then that just unsettled him completely. Back to the Jota story, the Portuguese winger Jota has given an insight into Celtic's remarkable domestic consistency under Ange Postecoglou. The Hoops have won 28 of their last 29 matches in Scotland, even in their previous 15 games. Jota insists he pays no attention to the stats. He says him and his teammates will not allow themselves to be derailed by looking too far into the future. To add the cringe Premiership title and Scottish Cup to their recent Vidplay Cup triumph. So they want to win the Premiership and the Scottish Cup. He said, Portuguese winger Jota said, to be honest, I didn't even know the numbers, he said. Celtic have impressive stats. I don't know if some of my teammates even know that. Well, definitely know with Jamesy Forrest anyway, because it's like there's two. Woohoo. Anyway, as Jota would say, he went on to say, I just think it's day by day and game by game. We always go into these games and deliver good results to win. We deliver good performances for the fans and for the staff. Jota went on to say, we have our aims and our goals since the beginning of the season, and we know it's going to come one day. You need to build good foundation, Jota went on to say, and he says we've been doing that obviously since the beginning of the season. Now we are reaching the end of the run, so it's time to be focused. Portuguese winger Jota went on to say, but I think sometimes people think too much about the end of the season. We have been doing this since the beginning of the season. That is the key for our team. There's no moment when we go down to the start and we think about other stuff that's irrelevant. We just keep on doing our thing. He says Celtic's momentum had been aided by the January arrivals of Alistair Johnson, Iwata and O, as well as Kobayashi. You actually forget that Kobayashi is actually at the team because he's not really been getting on the bench. So what's happened to him? Jota feels that there's the ability to integrate new players into their squad has been the success under coach Ange Postecoglou. But there you have it. That was all coming from the Western Australia paper. What can you say? Jota is just the man. I think he's still a lot to improve as a player. He's only going to get better. He's still young. I think when we see if we can keep the core of this team, it is looking like Liel Abada will leave this summer. There's more and more speculation about that. It's not going to go away. He hasn't signed the contract. There's people now coming out and saying, look, the guy wants to leave. Doesn't matter what Ange Postecoglou says. The manager can sit in front of the press conference all day long every week and say, look, the lad's happy. I've spoke to him. He's happy, but Ange Postecoglou will know, yeah, he's happy, but he's off this summer. But he's happy here in the here and now. He's happy, and that's all that matters. You know, what happens in the summer, happens in the summer at the end of the day. But Ange Postecoglou, target for the end of the season would be, the team is currently on 85 points, and at this point under Brendan Rodgers, the team were sitting on 86 when they won their treble in 2016-2017 campaign. That was an all-time record points. Ange Postecoglou and Celtic this season could finish on 109 points. That is something to be said when you look back at the state when Ange came into the club, and everyone thought, and Celtic fans, Rangers fans would have thought as well, they won the league under Gerrard, they were going to push on. You know, it happened when they lost 9 in a row back in the 90s. You know, Celtic kind of went on a little bit of run, so they thought the same would maybe happen to them. You know, that we would disappear into the ether and we would run out of money and things, but it's not the way that Celtic are run. To the Paul Lambert story, the Paul Lambert one's a cracking one. I want to cut through the story because you all know that Paul Lambert was obviously in Germany for the year and they won the Champions League. He was in the Champions League final, and he said he could have went anywhere in Europe, but he actually wanted to stay in Germany. He said he was asked by Wim Jansen at the time to come to Celtic, and he said no. His initial answer, he said no. He says he's totally happy here, but if it wasn't for the fact that his son had taken a bit ill at the time and he kept on getting ill, so his wife went back to Scotland. And then Celtic came in, and again they asked him a few times, and he basically said no. He says Scotland were then playing Belarus up in Aberdeen, and then Wim Jansen and Murdo appeared like rent-a-ghosts in the boot room at Aberdeen. He says, I don't know how they got there, but they did. Wim says, would you give me one more chance? I want to sign you. And it was like, I've got a game here for Scotland. I'm playing for Scotland. He went on and he played for Scotland. He had a chat with Dortmund. Dortmund were saying they were going to do everything for him and his son. He said, look, there's no one man bigger than the club. He didn't want the focus to be on him. The fans absolutely loved him in Germany at the time. And he could have went to Juventus, and at that time Juventus were pretty high flying in the Champions League on a regular basis also. He says he didn't want the club to pander to him. He says, I was never a bigger player, and eventually it became too much. My son kept getting ill, so I thought, right, that's it, it's difficult, I need to go home. And then obviously he came to Celtic. He basically said his head was up his arse his first few months at Celtic, as you remember. But you remember the Paul Lambert absolute screamer. I mean, if you think that the Bernabeu goal was a screamer, the Paul Lambert one against Klose, where he hits it from way outside the box, takes a run, hits this cross, and it curves, swerves. And you need to, if you haven't seen it, if you're too young to go and look at Paul Lambert goal against Rangers on YouTube. It was an absolute screamer of a goal, and the curve on this ball and everything. And I think that was the day that Paul Lambert was like, yep, he was Celtic through and through. Then he's been in and around the club for several years, and he still keeps on coming back up. So yeah, Paul Lambert. So let's jump on to some of the comments. Some of the comments from the video where Postecoglou looked delighted. I'm just going to go through one or two of them. Teague went on to say, actually, I don't think it was a bad performance at the weekend. New viewers should realise that Glasgow Celtic have pretty much terrified the whole of the league. Everyone just parks the bus against them now. Even an amateur team that parks the bus against a more talented team would really struggle, like the lads did. The lads did well to break them down systematically. The close balls, the balls off the post, the Kyogo's, like you said the other day, could have been a blowout. That all rattles the opposition. I think Ross County keeper deserves a drink after taking all those shots. He actually had some good saves. It was a scorcher by Bernabeu. It was that. The players that come off the bench, make an impact, so that's all good for us. We will never sell our club. Says difficult game on a slippery pitch, another 3 points, and it's on to the Glasgow Derby next Saturday. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed the video this morning, which was just a little bit of a fun video for hitting 9,000 subscribers. Back to the Celtic news as per normal tomorrow, first thing in the morning. So on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to